Awesome. Thank you, Lorna. Hey, everyone. My name is Alex Mehrtens, and I manage the sales development team here in Europe. And I'm just here to talk to you briefly about how we do sales analytics. So real quick, there's a lot of different acronyms for a sales development representative or a business development representative. We use SDR. I'll be using SDR for this presentation, so hopefully that's easy enough. A little bit of background on how we do sales development at Looker. Currently, we have 40 SDRs in 3 of our 7 global offices, Santa Cruz, Dublin, and New York. And SDRs primarily do 2 things. They, first of all, follow up with all the people coming in from the fantastic demand gen team. We try and nurture that kind of first spark of interest and qualify people as early stage opportunities for the account executives. The other side of that coin is outbound work, where SDRs go and try and find companies that could be a good fit for Looker. So companies that create a lot of data, typically have a modern technology stack, and could potentially leverage that data more effectively. And we try and educate those companies on Looker's approach to analytics and just start that conversation. So the rest of this presentation will talk about how we measure success and what kind of our KPIs and typical metrics are. So just very briefly, our data is fairly straightforward. We have Salesforce, Outreach, which is a sales automation platform that helps our SDRs organize leads and automate some of that communication, and Marketo, which is our marketing analytics or our marketing automation platform. All of that feeds into a single database, which is queried, of course, by Looker. So if you were brought on as an SDR tomorrow, this is, oh, sorry, real quick, missed a slide. The analytics we do regularly are continuous tracking of goals, deep dives on individual performance, our fair share of alerts and scheduled reporting, and of course, one-off questions. And I'll be touching on all 4 of those types of analytics during a few different examples. So now, if you were brought on as an SDR tomorrow, this is the first dashboard you'd see. It is, fittingly, the sales development dashboard. The top line of that is global goals. We want to contextualize the SDR's work in the broader context of the business and let them know what they're responsible for and what Looker needs to keep that engine running. So the first thing we look at is how we're tracking to those team goals. Second of all, reports that just have people that need immediate or sustained attention. So for example, if you request a demo or a trial and we have not gotten to you yet, I want that top of mind for my team. Another example of that might be people who didn't show up for their demo. We get it, things happen, other priorities come up, but we want to make sure we get in contact with you as soon as possible to find a better time to make that happen. And third is the individual performance component of things. So at Looker, all the data is readily available to all SDRs. They can see how they compare to their peers and exactly how they're doing towards their own personal goals. We encourage them to look at 2 things primarily, which are efficiency and conversion rates. So efficiency, how many companies you need to talk to from an outbound point of view before you find one that is a good fit for Looker. Conversion rates, how many people do you talk to from demand gen before you convert one into an early stage opportunity for Looker. And of course, there is a bit of a volume component to sales development. We've been doing it for quite a while now, and we know about how much work an SDR needs to do every week to hit their quarterly targets. So within LookML, we have emails, LinkedIn mails, calls, and stage 1 opportunities all weighted that convert nicely into this SDR activity health score. It's great as just a broad metric of how that SDR is tracking towards their week. And it's great because most salespeople I know are at least a little bit competitive, and they all like being at the top of this list. Cool. So that's the dashboard you see if you're an SDR at Looker. The other dashboard that we use regularly is what Lorna alluded to earlier, our Monday morning dashboard. Basically, it takes us down the sales funnel. SDR managers, marketing managers, and sales managers get together every Monday morning to go through it and just make sure we're on track towards our short and long-term goals and we're well aligned as a team. So marketing leads to goal, leads by territory, leads by cohort. SDR, workload by SDR, as well as how they're converting leads by cohort and how many early stage opportunities are created by week. And then sales, of those early stage opportunities, how are they moving down the funnel? Now, that's all well and good, but this dashboard is mostly important because when we first came to Dublin, we didn't really know what to expect. We had global averages. We know what the US did, but we didn't know what to expect in, say, the Nordics or France. So this dashboard has been great for both learning the business and tackling problems as a team when they arise. We all own the sales funnel. We succeed or fail together, and every problem in it is not just one person's solution. So, for example, when a territory is not doing all that well, this dashboard makes it really easy to diagnose what's going wrong and address it as a team. So let's say we don't have enough going on in the Nordics. We can quickly look at how many leads are coming in by cohort in the Nordics, and if that's low, we can talk to the marketing manager. We can then go down to the SDR point of view and see how they're converting those into early stage opportunities. Maybe the lead quality isn't great, or maybe that SDR needs a bit more coaching on those conversations and just needs a bit of help with a certain cohort of lead. Or maybe we just need the account executive to help out a bit more and get that territory back on track with a bit of extra effort for a week or two. Now, in all those cases, the data isn't fixing the problem, but it's helping us diagnose the problem and allowing us to just direct our energy really efficiently towards the root of the issue. At Looker, where data is most valuable to us is where that analytics, that kind of looking back at historical data to answer specific questions about the business, means the operational side, where you're using real-time data in your daily workflows. So one example of how we've operationalized sales data is what we call the AE prospecting dashboard. A few account executives at Looker mentioned that the SDR process is a bit difficult to get into. It's fairly complex. It's a lot of people working together to achieve a single goal, and there's a lot that goes into that. And they mentioned that it was a bit of a barrier to entry for their own prospecting because they felt like they were making more of a mess than they were actually adding value to the process. So we made this dashboard for them that shows them leads in their territory by key account, by engagement, by whatever dimension they want to slice and dice on. This just makes it really easy for them to get into their leads and start going with that hyper-personalized messaging for the companies that they're most excited about. Another way we've operationalized data is with scheduled reporting and alerts. So one of the more boring but necessary examples is keeping our CRM clean. Nothing makes analytics more frustrating, for me at least, than messy data. So if you're an SDR at Looker and you create a lead with Inc. in the company name, you get an email, and it says, please take Inc. out of the company name. We want McDonald's, not McDonald's, and McDonald's Inc., and McDonald's LTE, and blah, 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 blah. It just streamlines things, although it's terribly boring. Another version of that is if you make an opportunity with no meeting type, you get an email and says, hey, please put a meeting type on here. We want to know how these conversations start. We want to know so we can track them as they move down the funnel and optimize in quarters down the line. A bit more interesting than the CRM cleanliness is keeping SDRs focused on low-hanging fruit. So for example, every morning, SDRs get an email with their warm leads. These are leads that are highly engaged with marketing activity, highly engaged with SDR activity, and should be the focus of their morning. If they're going to call anybody that day, they call the people on this list. It helps us prioritize our time and get to the people who are most interested in Looker to help them and make sure all their research is going well. Another example of that is opportunities that we lost 10 months ago. We had an SDR named Owen who started, and he mentioned that we did these kind of closed loss campaigns here and there, kind of spottily, and it went okay, but it was kind of just done on an ad hoc basis. And he said, well, software contracts are about a year. Why don't we just make a scheduled look in Looker to show us every opportunity that we lost 10 months ago? It's a good time to start talking to him again, so let's just do that. So now, every time that date comes up, the SDR who owns that territory gets an email and says, hey, we lost this opportunity 10 months ago. It might be a good time to give this person a call or check out that account again. Finally, we do our fair share of ad hoc questions. One that I thought was kind of cool this year was we had to make new sales territories. we've been growing pretty fast, and it was time to just kind of segment Europe again. So what we did was we took the number of leads, the number of early stage opportunities, the number of trials, the number of closed won business, and the total customer ACV in each country. We weighted those things based on how important they were to the business, in our opinion, and Looker gave us basically a country score. From there, we could group countries into what we hope are culturally cohesive wholes that have about the same country value score sum, and be pretty confident that those are equal territories for every account executive. Next year, maybe our priorities change. We're working on localizing, so maybe France and Germany become a bigger part of our business. If we need to reevaluate territories at the end of this year, we just hit run, and we get updated scores for every country again with very little work on our part, which I thought was kind of neat. Cool. So in terms of what's next for sales analytics at Looker, we would love an SDR Explorer. As many of you probably know, an Explorer is basically a perspective on the data. What dimensions and measures are you using to look at the data, and who is it relevant to? Right now, SDRs are spread out across, I think, 3 or 4 different Explorers. One looks at campaigns. We use the Marketing Analytics Explorer quite a bit. We have another for Salesforce sales funnels. It's not a big deal, but it is a bit of a barrier to entry for new SDRs. So for us, it would be awesome to have one Explorer that just made intuitive sense from our perspective. The other thing that we could do better is A/B testing for our messaging and our calls to action. It's something that we have done here and there again, but we never built into a scalable, repeatable thing that is just part of our daily dashboards and workflows. So we'd like to do that. So that's sales development analytics at Looker. Next up is William Lane for the Department of Customer Love. Thanks.